Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Three Men of Football podcast. Right lads?
Simon Thomas, how are we? Are we all good?
All right, boys. Thank God for that, Darren.
I've just been told off. I can't believe it,
Yeah,
Thomas.
but you had a digital watch going off in the background from like the 80s for about 5 minutes.
Listen, mate, it's a Casio 437, the classics.
Yeah.
But why was it going off at 4 minutes past 6?
Well, why wouldn't it?
I've got no idea.
Did you set it for 4 minutes past 6?
Past 6? Yeah.
You've got problems.
Oh, serious.
All right, how are we all doing?
We're doing well, mate, apart from this issue. People seem to have my stopwatch.
Yeah. We coping well in lockdown?
Yeah, it's good not seeing people, yeah.
Yeah. We were just saying how much we like not having to interact with people. Although that's a problem for you, Daz, because you're a teacher.
I am, however, it's all online, so it's going very well.
Yeah, you all know I don't like people, so it works out well for me. All right, so today we're going to introduce a couple of new segments. So the first one is we're going to do a bit of word association with Thomas towards the end of the this episode, which should be fun. He's obviously looking forward to that, although obviously we'll have to caveat every bit of it with it's only Thomas's view and not ours. And then the others.
Well, hang on. Haven't we got like a legal team behind us? So if I mess up, they just cover sorting everything out.
I'm your legal team.
That's Simon.
Nah, that's all right then.
Do you know sometimes you get like a free legal team and they're not very good?
Yeah, that's similar.
Simon.
yeah. And then the other segment that we're doing is we've asked some people to send in some questions, and we've had some really good questions via video and via text, and we'll go through some of them later on. But first, we're going to get into what's happened over the weekend so far and look at some of the results that we've seen in the Premier League. So the big one, obviously, Daz, kicked the weekend off, was Brighton versus Aston Villa at Brighton. And given that you are our local expert, what are we thinking?
You say it kicked us off, but we actually played Saturday at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
so it didn't really kick us off.
It kicks us off.
It kicked me off because it was rubbish. We were poor, if I'm honest with you, and it was. Do you know what was really refreshing though? Is Dean Smith come out afterwards and some of the players saying it just wasn't good enough. We weren't good. We weren't right. We weren't at the races. We didn't have energy about us. We didn't pass the ball well. And I like that because if he'd come out like so many bosses in the past and said we did okay, but you'd have been saying what's he looking at? But the fact that he came out and said it's just not acceptable for Aston Villa Football Club, I quite like that. I think you know what, that's what managers should be coming out and saying. There was a lot of reasons why we were poor. I think if we don't start well, it tends to be a struggle for Villa. I also think playing with Ross Barkley is like playing with 10 men. He just doesn't offer an awful lot in a system.
You're not a fan, are you, Daz?
No, I'm not. And do you know what's a shame? Because when he came, I thought he's got so much potential, but that potential's got to move from being potential to actually carrying it out now, and he's not doing that. I just think he lacks. His decision making's poor. He doesn't really offer any energy in the game at all, and his touch at times is just atrocious. For me, this is Ross Barkley's big chance to say, "Look, I am a good player." Yeah. He's not doing it for me, and I can only see him now going back to Chelsea in the summer and then getting loaned out again. And I personally don't want him to stay at Villa in the summer because I don't think that's the right forward move for us.
Well, the only thing I remember about that game, Daz, is you complaining via text about how crap they were.
Yeah.
And how crap Barkley was.
To be fair, Martinez, the keeper, kept us in the game. He made 3 or 4 excellent saves.
The one big plus was your goalkeeper. He was rock solid, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was excellent. Matty Cash went off injured with a bit of a hamstring, so hopefully he'll get over that quite quickly. But we just didn't do enough in the game, and you can't argue. Brighton played well. They were lucky. They should have won about 3 or 4-0, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think Brighton did well during the game. I only watched parts of it, but they looked like they were well on top.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I didn't expect, to be honest. Although it was at Brighton, I thought Villa might go at them and get a result. But it was a shame that it didn't quite pan out that way. How did Grealish play?
Poor.
Really?
Yeah. He wasn't in the game at all. He seems to got a little involved with the right back sort of player who had a little niggle at him a couple of times, and then he threw something out at him, and he got booked early on, which throws him off. Then I just thought he had a poor game.
It was the proverbial handbags, though, wasn't it? They were like pushing each other, and then they pushed back, and he pushed, and he pushed, and he pushed.
I mean, from what I've heard, they were nice handbags, Sam. I don't want you to disrespect the comments. They were Gucci at one point. But I do think Grealish needs to learn now how to play. That's 2 games on the run. He's been almost marked out the game. And people are saying, well, if Grealish doesn't play, Villa don't play. And I can see that. I can see that because, with Barkley not doing anything, it does rely on Grealish to create something. But they've marked him out the game last 2 games. It'll be interesting what happens over the next 2 or 3 weeks, whether he picks his form back up or we keep on this path.
Well, it was Kufal last week, wasn't it? Who literally just tracked them all over the park and didn't let them go and did a great job.
But that's where he's got to be clever. For me, good players, of like Grealish, they find space. They go and drag the player out of the position. So then he's got to think during the game. He didn't do that enough. He just stayed by him, and I think he's almost got to go. Okay, I'm going to go in the middle now. Barkley, you go out wide.
Yeah, you've got to figure that out, haven't you? The best players in the world will figure that out
all the time, and I think that's where Grealish has got to learn a little bit more because teams will get onto it quite quickly.
But also take that responsibility on. Say, okay, well, they've put a system in place to take me out of the game. Well, I'm going to make it as difficult as possible for them. I'm going to drag players onto me and be attracted to me as much as I possibly can to free up space for the players to create them massive problems. And if he does that and is a bit selfless for the team, then he's got a great chance of creating opportunities. And then they're going to get tired. And the quality that he's got, even though he's not my favourite player in the world, he can do something special. So he's got to take that on board and run better with them, win them situations against teams that are going to do that against him.
Yeah, he's got to learn, but he's got to learn, in football, you play with your feet, but you almost got to think throughout the game. Okay, am I affecting the game? Can I turn this game? I can't here. Let me go. He surely have a license to go and move around. And as I said, I'd have put Barkley on the left or took him off and then put someone on the left and let Grealish go in the middle and go where you want.
Yeah, it's hard with him though, isn't it? Because he does blow hot and cold. We've talked about this before. At times, he drifts out the game. And then other times, he went on a bit of a run where he had a few really good games and was dominating the game. Now he's dropped off again. But I don't know whether that's just this season, because look at all the best players in the Premier League are having peaks and troughs, aren't they? Some of them are playing well one week, useless the next week. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know what's making that happen. He might be just suffering from the same thing.
Yeah, do you know what? And they are only human after all, if that's the song. But I do think Grealish needs
Another
to.
one of Darren's bad jokes there. I'm just going to point them out from now on.
Yeah. I wouldn't bother. But I do think he needs to learn, and Villa need to learn as well. We need to have other avenues to explore rather than just going through Grealish all the time.
Definitely. All right. Well, listen. Just before that was our big game. Was City. Was City's big game. City versus Spurs.
I didn't know you were a City fan now.
Sorry, mate. Liverpool were on in the early in the day. I'm still recovering from that. We'll go City first. So City beat Tottenham 3-0. And I thought they looked outstanding in the game. Totally in control. I think Spurs were in it in the first half. Did a bit better second half. City just blew them out the water. Didn't have much at all. Funny watching Rodri take the penalty and then Pep complaining afterwards that they need to come up with a proper penalty taker because they've missed too many. But that Gundogan is unbelievable. What a player he is. Dominating the game, getting forward. And he's also box to box as well. So he's getting box to box and he's also pushing them really far forward. Scored a couple of great goals. That one where he put the centre half on his backside and then knocked it into the bottom corner was a great goal.
But he's one who's actually having a purple patch at the moment. The last couple of games he's been outstanding. And he links really well, I think, with Foden as well. I think that they're both on that same wavelength, getting the balls in between the channels and making that late run into the box is paying dividends all the time. I think City's energy off the ball is phenomenal. You talk about Leeds, when Leeds, at the beginning of the season, the energy. Man City were relentless yesterday against Tottenham. Tottenham didn't have an answer. And they were looking at each other, Tottenham, as if to say, well, who's going to take this challenge on? City were just outstanding, and they looked comfortable throughout the game.
Well, and Højbjerg got found out a little bit by Gundogan in the game as well. So you see where they were getting chances and he was pushing on and doing really well. He kept losing Højbjerg as well. And I just think that just shows the gulf in class between those two players and maybe others as well.
And you fancied Tottenham as well, Simon. You fancied Tottenham to win 2-1.
I did, yeah.
I thought it'd be quite easy for City. I was in work and I didn't get to see the game, so I only got highlights. And City, they're going to stroll it. They're going to win the league by 20 plus points. There's no one even close this year coming, getting close to them. I wouldn't be surprised if they done the domestic treble. I wouldn't be surprised that they did that. They've got bigger challenges in Europe awaiting, but if they play as they are, and with De Bruyne to come back, they're just formidable at the minute.
Just on that, Thomas, they are missing at the moment De Bruyne and Aguero. Two massive
They've
plays
missed
for them.
Aguero generally for a while, haven't he? I think De Bruyne is a bigger miss for them now than Aguero is, even though I think they desperately need someone like Aguero to, because imagine how many goals they'd score if they had a proper centre forward.
And that's the thing, they haven't got, Jesus is there, but you'd argue he's not a proper centre forward.
He did well in parts of the game yesterday, though. I think on the ball, he's brilliant, but he doesn't affect the ball in front of goal enough, I don't think. And I think Aguero does naturally. Yeah. And Aguero gets ahead of the game all the time. He's always on the shoulder of the centre half. And that's, as you know, that's really hard to mark, especially when he's got pace. Over the first 5 yards, he's beaten anyone.
Yeah, I just think with Aguero inside 18-yard box, he gets a yard and it's a shot on goal.
Yeah.
I think sometimes Jesus is quite erratic with his shooting at times. He's trying to blast everything. But I do think City are they're just relentless to watch, and fair play to them. They had a bit of a stumble before Christmas, got themselves together, and they're just brilliant to watch.
Well, they did the comparison with last time they played Tottenham, they got beat, and in that time Tottenham had got 14 points and Man City had got 41 points.
Wow! I
mean, that's crazy. I mean, it was 15 games, so they dropped 4 points during that period. But Tottenham was in the teens. It's like, that's crazy.
But speaking of Tottenham, they look just like a top maybe 8 side now. The top 4 doesn't seem to be there for them at the moment. Too many players not playing. I look around and I think, if you took Son and Kane out the team, I know it's 2 players, but there's nothing there really. I look and think, where are they gonna? Is there anyone you think, he's world class or he's going to be good? There's no one seems to be coming through. They've got a lot of decent players, but I wouldn't say they've got world-class players. And I think Tottenham may have overachieved, and they had Pochettino. And by getting rid of him now, I think that's beforehand, but I think it's a bigger issue because I think he had them all playing in a certain way, and they were all attacking and they had energy. This looks like a tired Tottenham side. It looks like they're just going through the motions at times and relying on Son or Kane to do something in the game.
Surely Harry Kane's got to think about leaving at the end of this year.
You would think
if he wants to win something, he's really got to think about leaving. I mean, it's going to take a lot of money to get him out of there, but I mean, he'd improve all the top sides, wouldn't he?
Yeah, you've got to think as well. That playing in that team must be really frustrating as well, because they've got some quality players, but just can't do it, and they seem to do well and then fall away. But Mourinho has made some changes. You've got Højbjerg, who's in there now in midfield, Ndombele, who's playing in midfield. So there's the kind of core, your part of your backbone. And sometimes you'll watch them play and think they're dominating the game. In other games, they just go missing. Like against City, they just went missing. And I don't know whether that's just because City are that much better than them, but they couldn't get close to them. He's got that Bergwijn on the left side, who's a really good player. He does really well. But then you've got other people like Lo Celso and stuff like that who are just not good enough. And I think that's where they struggle, is that you could pick a first 11 that would compete against anyone in the league. But once you drop outside that first 11 with Tottenham, you're struggling. They're not good enough. So
yeah, I think I look at the 2 centre-halves and I think they're just average players. There's nothing about them. They don't command enough. They're not ball players. They're just average centre-halves.
And Dyer.
Yeah, they're just average centre-halves.
Well, Dyer fancies himself as a ball player, doesn't he?
We've all been there, Si.
He does, but he's just a yard dog, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not good.
I don't see how he's rated so highly. I just don't like him. I don't think he's good at all. In fact, I think he's totally overrated. And how he gets in the England side and how he gets in at centre half for Tottenham, I just don't know. So it's showing the quality that they've got there if he's keeping people out the side.
What do you think about that Alderweireld, the other centre half?
I really like him. I think, as defending goes, I think he's a decent defender. The problem that he has is that when he's asked to play football, I think he struggles at times. So when you put him in a back 4 and you say, right, I want you to defend, win the ball, and give it to your deep lying midfielder to make him play. So the way Henderson does for Liverpool when he plays in midfield, he'll just come straight into the centre half and take the ball and play. Great, because then all you're asking him to do is defend, win the ball, be strong. And if you're under any kind of pressure, we want it to go long, or hold the ball, hold the play up so that you can get men around you to slow the game down so you can close this place.
Yeah.
I think he's great in that sort of system. But when you're asking him to expand his game, I don't think he's got the ability like some of the better centre halves in the league have.
I think he's too rash making decisions when he comes to get the ball at times.
He's a big lad as well. He relies on his size a bit too much, doesn't he?
I think he gets caught out in positions. I just think he's average. I wouldn't, for him to be playing in a top 6 side, if you like, I think he's a very lucky player.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking about Lo Celso before, by the way. I was thinking about Lamela. Lamela is, I like Lamela. I think he's a decent player, but he's another one who drifts in and out the game.
He'd be a great player in France.
Yeah, or a great player in a team that are not expected to go on and be in Europe. He's just not quite good enough.
Yeah.
But looks quality on the ball, though. Anyway, let's get on to the next game. The next game was Crystal Palace-Burnley. We thought this would be a bit of a snooze fest. Burnley battered them 3-0.
Yeah, and played well. And played really well.
Really good.
But it's the typical Burnley now. They get to this start time of the year every year and then kick on. And that they'll finish mid-table. Again, quite happily. They seem to always pick up towards the second half of the season, and they start getting goals and defending better. It's just unbelievable.
He had loads of chances as well, didn't he?
Yeah, what Dyer's done there, it's. I just hope. Dyche, sorry, yeah. Dyche. You know me. It doesn't matter what name.
Yeah,
we'll fill that in later on. with Dyche, he's Sean. I normally call him. What he does there every year is phenomenal. But Burnley had a takeover now, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets money and what he does with it. Are they going to change their identity of who they are, or are they going to kick on and buy a couple of more quality players that almost take away from what they are at Burnley?
You know what? You've got to think about the investment to place ratio, though, haven't you? How much you have to invest to get 2 or 3 places up the league, because you're not getting any further than that. You're not getting into the top 8. It's not happening. So what do you go and invest 100 million to finish 10th instead of 12th, or do you just accept that 12th or thereabouts is where you're going to finish? I don't even know how much they get for that.
Yeah, they fell into a difficult situation there at Burnley, because this takeover was supposed to be no debt put on the club. They were coming in buying it, and they've done a Hicks and Gillette, and they have borrowed the money from a bank and put the debt on the club. So I think it was 80 million or something like that, which a club of that size can't really run with that much debt. It's going to cripple them going forward. So whether or not this takeover is actually going to be detrimental to the club going forward is to be seen, because I've got concerns that if these guys haven't got the cash to complete the takeover in the first place, are they going to have any money to buy players? Are they going to have any money to support the manager? And if they're not supporting the manager, is he going to be thinking, listen, now's the time for me to be making that step up? Because he's certainly got the quality to take, a top 8 side and see where he can go with them, and whether or not his ability and his tactical awareness and everything else would work at a bigger club. It'd be nice to see. And he's English, to give an English manager the opportunity to go on, even though I can't stand when he comes on with his accent.
But isn't the FA meant to do like a check on these people who are taking over clubs? And surely if they were going to put that debt onto the...
But they didn't. Club. They bought the club, Darren, and then they've put the debt on after.
Yeah, when you own it, then what you do with it, it's your asset then, isn't it? So
that's just...
Yeah, it happens a lot though, Daz. I mean, I think that's just the reality of some of these people that come into football. I also think that some of these owners that come in have got expectations about what owning of football is like, and then all of a sudden they realise it's very, very different than what they thought.
Because if you look what happened to Blackburn, Blackburn had owners come in.
Venky's.
What you call me?
Venky's, the chicken people.
Yes, it was chicken people. And they just ruined that club. The fans got, and Blackburn and Burnley are similar in terms of it's community based, so they do a lot in the community. They are the hub in the community, and I think if it goes against them, you could see Burnley go Championship or even lower.
So they won 3-0. How about Crystal Palace? I mean, they were shockingly bad as well. Eze is the only bright spark at the moment. Zaha seemed like he was totally out of the game. Didn't really get involved. Benteke, oh my God, he was useless. And they just look really poor at the back.
How many points have they got? Will they get dragged in, do you think, or have they got enough at the moment?
Crystal Palace are in 14th on 29 points. So, no, I think they're good.
They just need 3 more wins, really, don't they? And I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But again, it's interesting what happens with them in the summer because, like you said before, Si, are they going to invest or are they going to sell? And if they sell, is the money going to go back to the manager? Because you can't see that. Is it Ezra? You can't see him as well. There's 2 of them. Yeah. You can't see him sticking around if he's going to be in a relegation or bottom half if he wants to play higher.
No.
Hey, Darren, I'll tell you a funny story. I went to the Blackburn, and it wasn't me that threw the chicken on the pitch.
I would have loved that to be the funny story.
We went to the Blackburn. We got free tickets off someone on this podcast, and there was 4 tickets, and they were in the Blackburn end to watch Liverpool. And so it's me, my brother, and 2 mates. We're sat there, and we're sat with the home fans in the main stand. Anyway, about 10 minutes before kickoff, and security come and manhandled us out of our seats and locked us in a room, threatening to do us in and everything. What are you scouts such and such as doing in the main stand? And I said, we've won a competition with a big brewery called Budweiser. And they just started laughing. Yeah. And I said, I said, you better check the tickets. I said, because we've won a competition to come here today. And I'm going to go to the local paper and have a go at you and everything. And they said sorry for dragging us because literally they dragged us out of our seats. And they let us go back and they said, well, we're going to put a steward next to you to watch you. You're not allowed to sing and we want you to sit on your hands. And it was the game where Milan Baros and Carragher both got their legs broke in the same game against Blackburn. Well, I couldn't control myself. I was calling them all kinds. Sheep kept on coming into my mouth, shouting sheep. About sheep.
Did you just say that?
And they didn't. They didn't.
Did you just say sheep kept coming into my mouth?
No,
that's the last time you're going to Wales.
I was shouting about sheep. Calling them. Anyway, we won 4-0 and we got through out with 10 minutes to go.
Oh, God.
I love the way he tries to edit himself. It just comes out wrong.
Yeah, we need to do a better job of editing him. I also have to do a better job of remembering what game I'm talking about as well. Because I was just thinking, I'm sure I must be thinking about a different game with Crystal Palace because when I watched the Burnley and Crystal Palace highlights, Zaha wasn't playing. It was that Batshuayi he was up front. It was useless. But what I try and do over the weekend is watch as many highlights as I can. But what I do is I use YouTube to assess the highlights.
Yeah.
Problem is sometimes you go into different games. I was thinking that's not right. He wasn't even playing this week. Genius. I'm catching your disease.
Honestly,
there.
It's the research that goes into the show that keeps it alive. I tell you.
Genius. All right.
Anyway, go back to Thomas's sheep story.
Oh, we need to get off it quick. You need to stop talking about what sheep are doing in your mouth.
No, I was shouting about sheep.
Yeah, all right.
Leave it.
I was in Burnley. I was in a field.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So let me bring you back down to earth, Thomas. 3-1 Leicester against Liverpool. Yeah. And there's been a lot of chat about this over the last couple of days. Klopp come out and was not happy about the offside, not offside. The penalty, not penalty. It was not a penalty for me. That definitely a free kick. But he also wasn't offside. If you're using VAR, then he's not offside. I don't like it. And when you actually look at it, it looks like he's offside, but he wasn't offside. And Klopp started talking about
I think
subjective. I don't really understand what he was saying. Am I missing something?
I think he was offside.
How?
I seen on the internet today the game against Everton. You know when Van Dijk got injured?
Yeah.
And where they drew the line for the offside was through the tip of his shirt.
Yeah.
And what they did with the line for this game was they went down the side of his head and they caught the bottom of his shirt. Now they had another, an inch or so. If we're talking millimeters, he would have been offside, as far as I was concerned. But
I don't know.
but
When you look at it, so the way
so
I
he
see
drew the line straight down. So he went down the side of his face, and he caught the corner of the bottom of his shirt, which his arm was going out, sticking towards the goal.
Yeah.
If he'd have drawn the line from the start of his shirt, and he'd actually got his knee as well involved, because they cut his knee off. The line went through his knee, so he had some of his knee still sticking over. I know it's a load of nonsense. We should have done better, and they shouldn't have scored. But I felt they were offside, and it was millimeters again. We were only calling VAR last week. A goal was a goal. We had to take it on the chin, and we should have come back better from the equaliser.
I mean, the reality is we capitulated after that.
Yeah, we did. But I mean, I was quite impressed with how we played up to that point, as to how bad we'd been. It was a shame Milner had to go off, and then Thiago come on. I thought we were controlling the game really well. They still had that threat in over the top, and we were. You could see that we were a bit worried about it early on, but we really had them under control. We were unlucky with the goal. I'd say we're unlucky. I don't think the goalie could have really done it with it. The way the players screened them made it more difficult for them.
Too deep, definitely too deep.
Yeah, and then, but then after that, the young kid, and I don't understand. One of them must have shouted for the ball. Surely, it's schoolboy error that if your goalie's coming so far out to win that ball. The issue I had with that was Alisson would have got the ball, and so would Kadak, if I'm saying it right.
Kabak, is
it? Kabak, yeah. He would have got it. The ball was about to land on his foot, and the two players have hit each other, and it's just bounced. He's totally missed it. So I don't know what you put that down to him being new, and Alisson hasn't shouted, or if he did shout. Either way, it's a massive, massive error. And then after that, the fight, you could just see it just went whoosh, heads right down. The third goal was ominous and was coming straight away. I mean, the third goal, if the third goal had been the equaliser, I can understand that. He just got caught square on. Vardy or Barnes would have easily beat him in a foot race anyway, and would have been in. But the fact that we totally give up, I
thought it was worse than that. So I was really disappointed in the last half an hour. I thought the pace just went right out of the game for us. And for that third goal, Salah gave the ball away in midfield with what I don't even know what he was doing. I don't know what he could see that we couldn't see, but he was never getting that ball to, I think he was passing it to Wijnaldum.
Yeah,
in the middle of the park. Terrible pass. And then, they're in the middle of the park, not being challenged. And as you say, there's a forward in a foot race with Kabak. He's going to win it. Kabak did get caught square on. But also, if you watch it again, Thiago kind of drifts out, doesn't mark anyone, doesn't do much at all, and then drifts away from the play. They get away and score. I thought that was pretty bad. The second goal was ridiculous. But if you watch it closely, Kabak doesn't look at the goalkeeper once. He's watching the ball all the way. And I don't think he shouts. It doesn't look like he shouts. A lot of the cameras look from that angle. It doesn't look like he shouts. Klopp said he didn't hear Alisson shout as well. And when the place is that quiet, if you're a keeper, you want to be shouting loud so your centre half gets out the way and you just clear them out. So I think that's a communication breakdown, which with players and who know how you play, probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really the problem for me. It was how poor we were with giving the ball away. Bobby for that goal was unbelievable. But how many times in the game did he give the ball away? It was crazy.
I was in work last night, and I was talking to one of my colleagues about it, and he said the last two games when we've felt a bit, he said Curtis Jones has come off and Oxlade-Chamberlain has come on, and the protection for our defence goes because of how much Curtis works and how much effort he puts in alongside Wijnaldum. I know Wijnaldum had gone off by the time for the third goal, but Curtis Jones and Wijnaldum and Milner, to be honest, were just rotating. So there was always cover. We always knew when the ball broke down, there was someone there to sit in front. But once Curtis went off, Milner had gone off early, I don't think you can rely on Thiago to do a job where if there's a breakdown in play, he automatically knows to sit in and cut and help out. I just don't know. I don't want to be too disappointed about it, because as we've known this last week, there's more important things than the results. But I still think, you know, you've got to get behind the team, and hopefully on Tuesday against Leipzig, we can start the building process, and we start from the bottom and try and get our confidence lifted a little bit before the derby.
Yeah, that's what you think from a neutral's perspective.
I watched the game and I thought Liverpool were excellent for about an hour. I thought the first time in about 6 or 7 games they had a good tempo from the start. I thought the fullbacks were getting high like they used to. I thought all the forwards were looking to get into the space. And I thought, oh, okay, this would getting back to something here. And I thought this is, and Firmino's the goal, the piece of skill was superb,
and the finish as well was unbelievable, wasn't
it? It was class. You know, literally it was class. But what was got me more than anything is once that first goal went in, Liverpool collapsed. They didn't have anybody who was going round almost saying to players, get your finger out your arse and get going again.
Yeah.
Put your tackles in. It was too nice. They were just, oh, okay. Thiago can't play in a midfield that's got no legs because he's got none. He can't get back. Once you've gone past him, that's it, he's gone. I think he's finding the Premier League a little bit too quick at the moment, and I think he needs to either get clever with it or play him a little bit further up in the diamond. As far as the goalkeeper and the centre-half goes, I think the goalkeeper can see the whole picture there. So for me, he needs to control that situation. When he kicked it,
union there does.
Yeah. You have to. I'd never get caught like that. I wouldn't get that far up the pitch to get caught behind me, to be fair. But the keeper, whether they knock into that should have been in row Z, and then they've got into each other. So I just think the keeper needs to take control of that if he's coming out that far, and you know, goalkeeper should be shouting. If he hasn't shouted, then that's just poor. And then, you know, the third goal, they did a little triangle in the middle and got through to Liverpool's defence, and they were again too square. But for 60 minutes, Liverpool looked very, very good. They looked as though they were getting back to something. But the alarm bells will ring once the first goal goes in against Liverpool, and they didn't show any resilience. They didn't tighten anything up. They didn't show, okay, no, we're getting back into this. Come on. That had all gone.
Yeah, to be fair, it's the fight, and I think I think Klopp seen that as well. He was talking about it in the interview afterwards. It's clear to everyone that something is not right, and it might just all be confidence. And maybe it is if they get a couple of wins, but then they got a couple of wins and they went back to it. So I just don't know. I'm with you, Thomas. I don't want to get too down about it and read too much into it. The reality is we've had a couple of really good seasons. We're struggling this year. We're just not at the races. City will run away with this. We're now fighting for top 4, and I don't think that is a given anymore. You would hope that we could secure top 4, but I don't think it's a given. But what you want to see is someone like a Henderson going back into midfield and driving the game. Personally, what I would do is I would put Henderson back in the midfield and then I'd build the back 4 on whatever we've got available. Because I think you put Henderson in midfield or Fabinho in midfield, what happens is you stop the pressure on the back 4. That's not happening at the moment. Thiago's a great player, great on the ball, great to watch. He's a Rolls Royce of a footballer. But you're right, he hasn't got the legs. He doesn't naturally drop in and protect the back 4. And he's never going to be that. So if we're expecting him to do that, then we're only ever going to be disappointed. But if you play Henderson back in there or Fabinho, it changes it entirely because they will naturally do that work for them. And what you will also get is them driving the game from further up the park. Henderson was trying to drive the game from the back 4. And he can only do so much with that. At times he was getting caught up the park. He can only do so much with that. And I think he needs to do something to get the back 4 sorted. If you do have to play anyone in there, playing Fabinho in there and playing Henderson in midfield is probably the way to go. But I mean, we're rife with injuries at the moment. We've got to do the best we can, and I just get them working as hard as they possibly could. Let's try and grind out a couple of wins and then see where we can take it.
Yeah, it was the fight for me. It was the fight, and you know, whether you've got average players, good players, great players, you've got to have that fight. You've got to put the work in, and that's the expectations you should have. Personally, that's what I think.
I'm with you. All right. So today there's been 3 games already. I've watched one of them. I didn't watch the first one, which was Southampton versus Wolves. Anyone watch that?
I watched bits of it.
I've seen Neto's goal. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah,
I
really.
seen a comment on Twitter saying that that goal may get Neto moved to Liverpool.
He's honestly
So
unbelievable.
they won Wolves 1-1 against Southampton away. That's a decent win for them.
It is, and Southampton I think have lost 6 or 7 on the run now or something. Which
they're not looking good either, are they?
No, they started really well, and up to Christmas they were doing quite well. After Christmas, they seem to have almost gone back to where they were last season at times. There's again, it comes back to I don't think there's any fight at the moment, or I don't know. Sometimes you can say, oh, we're a bit unlucky there, but you can't be unlucky in 6 games.
No.
They need to start scoring again. They start creating again, and giving the forwards a chance because Ings will finish. There's no doubt about that.
Definitely. Yeah, it was that's not a good result at home. And then the next game, which I watched the majority of this, was West Brom 1, Man United 1, and Man United did not look good in this game at all, which is strange because they've looked really good lately. But Harry Maguire he's literally like a bus. He turns like a bus. He never looks secure on the ball. Absolutely useless. I was giving him crap throughout the game, and then he nearly scored an header right at the end. What a save that was, by the way, by the keeper.
Great save. And Sam Johnson used to be at United, didn't he? So he enjoyed that. Yeah.
What a goal for West Brom. It was
a whopper.
What a great header. And they were crying for a foul, but it was never a foul. He was just stronger and just determined to get on the end of that ball and just got himself round his body. And great header. Great ball in, superb goal.
And then he should have scored in the second half as well, didn't he?
He could have had 3.
Yeah, he went after Maguire and probably should have scored. Keeper saved it. But
what was interesting is United teams have no idea. The last 20, 30 minutes, they just were forcing everything. And then they nearly got the penalty, which I had in the sweep 61 minutes. I don't know if anyone else had the sweep on, but it was the last couple of games. The referees have been told to go to the screen, which I think is the right decision. If they're not sure, and the referee was like, "No, it's not a penalty."
Yeah, but that was definitely offside. By the way, he was well offside. Before I know in the build up to it,
it was.
Harry Maguire was offside. So then why were they checking the penalty?
Yeah,
seemed a bit odd.
I don't know,
they
but
didn't
at least
check the offside.
Yeah,
crazy.
Very strange.
Yeah, I just think it's good to see referees going over there.
Yeah, I do as well.
And
I think that's a decent result for the rest of the teams around the top 4 as well. That does us a favour because you wouldn't expect West Brom to take points off United now.
Not at all, no. But do you know what? West Brom, I don't want to say, but they looked half decent at times.
Yeah,
they had a decent energy about them. And they got the goal early, which I think makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
And then they tried to defend it and then counter-attack. But, another day they could have had 2 or 3.
Against the better sides, big fat Sam does quite well, doesn't he?
Yeah. All right. So then the next one, we haven't watched this because it was on while we were doing this, was Arsenal beat Leeds 4-2. That's going to be a good game, isn't it?
Yeah, I watched the first half. Did it finish 4-2?
4-2, yeah.
Arsenal looks superb first half. Leeds, goalkeeper mistakes, I think, for at least 2 of the goals. But Arsenal look sharp. They played, I think, that Aubameyang came back, got a hat-trick.
Yeah.
But they also, Thomas, I think they played that guy you liked out wide.
Yeah, Odegaard.
And he looks sharp. Yeah. And the young lads are looking very, very good at the moment for Arsenal. They're almost keeping the energy in the team, which I think is quite good. A good result for Arteta.
Yeah, definitely. He needed that.
Yeah, terrible by the goalie, though, for the penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah. But again, make a decision and go for it. Don't try and be smart. Just make decisions.
So very quickly, the games that are remaining is Everton, Fulham at 7:00 today. Tomorrow was West Ham, Sheffield United, and Chelsea, Newcastle. So tomorrow night's a decent game. I'll definitely watch that, and I might watch a bit of Everton tonight. I think they'll do.
Well, obviously it's Valentine's Day, so I'll be watching the game.
Yeah, we'll be watching footy together. That's none of us will be doing any romance. All right. So let's move on to the next part, the next segment, which is going to be the new segment where we're going to get questions from listeners or watchers or your dad. So we'll start with one from Andy McFarlane. Andy is a mate of mine, someone who I work with, loves Liverpool, loves football, lives in France, watches from afar. And he's got a really good idea, which we think would be good for an episode. So let's just listen to Andy's question.
Good morning, gentlemen. I hope you're all well. When I say gentlemen, well. You've previously done episodes where you've selected your favourite Premiership team of all time. I wonder whether it's worth doing an episode where you select the worst Premiership team of all time. Obviously, you can't pick players from all the same club or anything, but I think it might be quite good fun.
Okay, so Andy's is a bit of a broader question, and I think actually we could do an episode on picking the worst team ever. You know, all the worst players that we've seen around the Premier League and the top clubs. But we thought what we'd do is just come up with one player each who are some of the worst players we've seen. And we're going to start with Thomas. We don't know who we've come up with, by the way. Thomas, who have you got?
Well, I thought I'd start in goal. And the worst, especially after the mistakes that have been happening the last few weeks.
You're picking a goalkeeper.
I'm picking a goalkeeper. And the worst goalie I've seen in the Premiership has got to be Massimo Taibi.
He was absolutely.
Do you remember when he let the ball roll through his legs?
Yeah.
Went to catch it. So he was a big signing from Italy, wasn't he, for Man United? And on his debut, he played against Liverpool and had a worldie. We battered them that game and he made some amazing saves. And then the following week and then the weeks after that, he literally clangers every week and they got rid of him quick, sharp. He was useless. So he was my pick for
Thomas,
the goalie.
I could rival you two Villa goalkeepers. Sasa Serchik, I think his name was, where he had the tracksuit bottoms on, the grey baggy ones.
Do you know what though? He was all right.
He couldn't even take a goal kick. and then we had Peter Enkelman, who decided in a derby to let the ball go under his foot, and the referee give it because it hit a stud or something. Just a nightmare.
From a throw-in.
From a throw-in, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
So we'll have a fight on our hands for the goalkeeper already.
All right. So who have you got, Daz?
I went for someone who I think played in the Premier League right at the beginning of it. Played for, I think, Oldham, Ian Marshall.
Oh, terrible player.
Long black hair, shin pads, rolled socks rolled down. He was just, everything he did went in, and it annoyed me.
Thought he was brilliant, didn't he?
Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, so I've got one who we've talked about before. Apparently, he was faster than Michael Owen. Sean Dundee.
Oh, dear me.
What was that all about?
Dear me.
Crocodile Dundee. Absolutely useless.
You can imagine him saying, "You call that a goal? This is a goal."
Oh my God, he was terrible. Yeah, he was not a good player. But yeah, I think we'll do an episode of that, and we'll pick our team and see if we can agree with it. You know, we'll see where we go. All right, next up, Daz, is your dad. Okay.
Just before we go, I'd like to apologise. He's got a very funny accent. It's quite posh.
So Jeff is hilarious. I've watched this video a couple of times because he just makes me smile. So let's have a listen to
he
Jeff.
looks dead happy, doesn't he, Dan?
He does, doesn't he? Yeah.
I think I've just took £1 out of his wallet.
Yeah. Right, here we go.
Thomas, Simon and Darren. As Jurgen Klopp left Liverpool, who would have the credentials to take over and who the fans would like? That's my question.
So his pregnant pauses were absolutely brilliant. Like, I'm going to pause for effect and then ask the question.
Can I just tell you, I did that. My mum's birthday was last Tuesday. Bless her, she's 70. She said, "Come on, Dad, you've got a question. I'll film you." And he must have said the question 3 different ways, but he kept getting his credentials in. And I said, "Mum, have you got new toilet paper or something? Is this word of the day or something? What's going on?" And he went dead posh.
Well, it is a really good question as well, because the reality is there's a lot of chat at the moment about Klopp and what happens next, whether he goes. There's also been a lot of chat about Gerrard and whether he is being lined up to come in as Klopp's replacement. I've seen something today about Klopp having this break clause in his contract, and you know there's a lot of rumours going around. So it's definitely the right time to be asking that question. A, do you think there is any chance of him going anytime soon? And B, who do you think is somebody who could come in, Tom?
When I seen this question, I was racking my brain thinking, who would I be happy with?
No one is the answer, Thomas.
Well, I'm not going to lie, Darren. Nobody jumped off the paper or out of any league or any team to say, I want you to be our next manager when Klopp goes. I mean, fingers crossed, and I'm touching wood here, that Klopp stays for many more years because he's superb. But to answer the question, I know a lot of the fans want Gerrard to come in next. I just don't quite think he's ready. I think he needs to have a few more years in management and deal with that pressure at Rangers, or even get a move away to another English club and just build up his preparation, ready to come in, because we know it's his dream job. He's quite openly said, my dream job is to manage Liverpool. I have also looked at a protege type of Klopp's over in Germany, Nagelsmann. I like the way his teams play football. I like the way he runs his club. I like the way he supports and drives his players on, and that sort of Klopp bravado. You're my players and you're going to go and win, and we're going to siphon every bit of energy from all the crowd and the team and the city, and it's going to drive us on. I like that. That really inspires me in a manager and as a coach. But to be honest, my choice would be Pep Linders. When Buvac left, and it seemed that he'd had a bit of a falling out with Klopp, and he'd been built up as the brain and the brains behind the operation for years with Klopp and at his other clubs. And I really had concerns thinking, well, is it Klopp as a team, or is it Klopp as the individual that drives you on and does really well for the club? And Pep Linders come in, and we went from being nearly men to the men. We were the team to beat in world football, and we went on to prove it. So he come in and he become assistant manager. We then went on to win the European Cup. The next season, we've won the league. We won the World Club Challenge and whatever else it's called. And I just think he's ideal. He knows the way the club operates. He knows the players that he's got. He knows the pluses and the minuses. And it also drops back onto olden ways, the way we stood with the boot room. And we had Shankly, Paisley, Fagan, Dalglish going down that. You know, Linders could be the man to come in and take over things for a few years if needs be, ready for Gerrard to come in. And it's, you know, it's just the old guard coming back through again, and it's ideal. So for me, it'd be Linders, but to be honest, I don't want no changes made in any time soon, and hopefully Klopp's with us for the next 10 years.
Yeah, Daz, any thoughts?
I want to see Klopp stay in the Premier League from a football coaching point of view. I think I don't know many managers or coaches out there who are a good fit for Liverpool at the moment. I think what Klopp did when he first come in is he got the club. And that's the big thing for me and any manager is they get the club, they get the people, and they build from that. And Klopp did that very well. At the end of the day, they go through a blip. And it happens at all clubs, it happens. But what I've seen two sets of fans of Liverpool at the moment. I've seen a set of fans who, as soon as they've had a bit of negativity, that's it, everyone out, start again. We need to get rid. I'm like, actually, no. And I've seen the other set of fans who've gone, we're getting around Klopp. We're going to protect him. We're going to fight for our club and fight for the manager that we think's right. And I'm on the side of those people, if I'm honest with you. I don't want to see Klopp leave the Premier League. I don't want to see him leave Liverpool. I think it's a good fit from a football point of view. And I don't think there's anyone out there at the moment who could move Liverpool forward after Klopp. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
I think you're right, but I do think that because I went through the same process as Thomas, just looking at different people and thinking, is there anyone? I think it's Linders is probably your best choice, but I think Gerrard is probably the more obvious choice. And if we were struggling in terms of passion and, you know, love for the club and stuff like that, then Gerrard would be a great person to bring in because he's got the lot. What he hasn't got is a number of years in top tier management, and maybe not the tactical nous that we would need at Liverpool. Linders has got that, but I just don't know whether it depends what happens when Klopp does eventually leave. If he leaves and he leaves a massive hole, and you know he's left because Liverpool are not doing as well and they need picking up again, Linders probably isn't the answer. Gerrard will probably be the answer. But if he leaves because he's built the club back up and he's gotten to where they want to be, and, we're talking 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, maybe Linda steps in and becomes the next person. I love the thought of the boot route coming back. I'd love that. I think that is what Liverpool was built on when we were kids growing up. That's why one of the reasons why we loved the club. We knew these people. We knew they were committed to the club before they stepped into the manager role. And that might be a good way for the club to go. Just
on that side, I think for you saying the old boot room, I think I can only see one combination for me then. Big Sam and Little Sam.
Yeah, imagine. All right, let's get off this one. We can't talk about Big Sam and Little Sam. We might push Thomas over the edge. So the next question comes from Igor, another person who listens to us all the time and always gives us good feedback. And his question again relates to Klopp. So let's have a listen to what Igor has got to say, because this is a good one.
Hi everyone. I prepared a video question for you. Hope you will like it. So let's watch the video. And now time for question. What made Klopp so angry? There are different options to choose. A. A referee made a mistake in favor of an opposite team. B. Klopp slept very bad this night. C. Klopp just likes shouting. And D. Your options to propose. Good luck and thank you for answering.
Brilliant. I love that. So,
that's brilliant.
Igor is one of our international listeners, obviously. Has to put up with our accents all the time. So now we have to put up with his, which is probably an awful lot easier than ours is to understand. Brilliant question in terms of what's going on at the moment, because Klopp does seem to be pretty angry, but that is an absolute cracker. I would say that he slept bad the night before, so I'd go for option B. He's having a bad day, gets upset with the referee.
Has he tried a nectar mattress? I don't know if we can get that sorted to Klopp. There's an offer on at the moment. He could be interested. Ask him to phone me. He's got my number.
It's brilliant, that. He is proper angry in that video.
But yeah, I love the anger he gets and the passion he gets when something doesn't quite go right, that he thinks it's justified for him to get angry. I love that.
I also love the way when he's on the line, he's not shouting loud enough, because when you've got they pipe in the crowd noise, I always switch that off. When you've got it off, you can hear what's going on. And when he's talking on the line, he's obviously only talking loud enough so he can hear himself. When something goes wrong, the players can't hear what's going on. They have no idea what he's saying, but he just has a proper conversation with himself. Yeah. He reminds me a lot of Thomas on the line.
Oh,
getting angry.
Darren, what do you think the answer was then?
Oh, it's got to be he's upset with the referee. Surely, to goodness.
Yeah. I think the referee tried it on with his missus. That's what I reckon.
There's always a possibility.
Well, he did say throw your own options in there.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. I'm definitely going for B. He didn't sleep well the night before. Or he just likes to get angry. I mean, I think football, and as you know, because you have to pro with me on a Saturday, it definitely does that to me. As soon as I get to football, I'm.
You're the palest Hulk ever.
The palest and crappest Hulk.
He doesn't go green, he goes whiter.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not a good look.
Hey, well, his bald head goes bright red. Don't make me angry.
But it's, at times, when we're playing the game and I'm shouting, I'm only shouting, and I can't do anything else. I can only shout, and then I just have to get on with it because I haven't got enough oxygen going to my brain. I can only do one thing at a time. That was a brilliant question. Thank you, Igor. That was really good.
Excellent.
So we'll do more of them in the next episode. I thought that was really good. It's a good process to go through. I'm sure we'll get some different ones. They won't all be about Klopp, but they were good ones. Thank you, Dad, for us, Daz, as well, because that was a really good one. So then we also got one from Mark Seed, Daz, who's a mate of yours, which I don't think we've got. This is another one that you could dedicate a full episode to. We haven't got enough time to do it justice now, but we'll ask the question, give some thoughts, and then we'll come back and do an episode on this, because I'd like to get someone on who knows more than we do about this particular subject. And it's about racism in football. So what Mark said is, okay, so my question, sorry, I don't do superficial, he put in brackets, which I thought was hilarious. Do you think racism will ever be eradicated from football? And more controversially, do you think the sport itself attracts racists? So it's as serious a question as we've dealt with since we've been doing this podcast, but we have talked about racism quite a bit. Right now, What seems to have happened is that we had all the Black Lives Matter movement around the George Floyd situation. And then the players started taking a knee. It was going on for a long time. And then I've seen today, I think it was Brentford.
Brentford, yeah.
They've come out now and said they're not going to take a knee anymore. That's more of a media thing as opposed. It's not making the point anymore. They see it differently. And then I seen comments from other team supporters saying, no, we think you should continue to take a knee until we deal with this problem. You've had an awful lot talked about around players, the abuse that they get online and social media, people like Raheem Sterling coming out and talking about it. And we talked the other week about Mika Richards doing the documentary on racism in football. And although we know it's there, obviously we haven't experienced it ourselves. But we've certainly been around things that have gone on, been at games, whether it be amateur football, whether it be at the game where it's happened. And it's a real bad spot on the sport that we love, and it doesn't appear to be getting any better. In fact, I think what's happening now is in the 80s and 90s there was a lot more direct racism. So you would get things like when John Barnes was playing, they'd throw bananas on the pitch. Then what happened is during the 2000s it dropped off and there wasn't as much direct racism. But there was definitely still systemic racism. It still existed. It was still there. People were still experiencing it. But it wasn't really out in the public as much. Now, because of social media and because social media has increased so much and players are accessible on there, it's become much more direct. And people are doing it directly, but at a distance because they can do it at the other side of a keyboard. I think it's absolutely disgusting. It's something that we have to commit to dealing with. This is not something that people take a knee for a while and then all of a sudden it goes away. It's massive. It's an issue for the sport. And there's a long way to go before they get this right because it's still rife as far as I can see.
Yeah, I just want to add, I thought you said that excellent, by the way, Si. But I want to add that anytime you give these idiots a voice, you're going to have a problem. At football games, we've all been around and you've heard some stupid shouts and, the majority of people then shout them down and get it dealt with. But social media is a massive issue because social media gives these people a platform and a voice where they can meet other people who have similar ilk. And that's a massive problem because then they form a group, then they form a society, and then they go and attack these, with the racist marks. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. However, what I'd like to see is a couple of things with social media, particularly with Twitter, where it mostly happens, as far as I can see. Every Twitter account should be linked to a national insurance number. And once it's linked to a national insurance number, then you're responsible for whatever gets tweeted or retweeted on that platform. You can, freedom of speech is great, but when it's hatred, that's the problem. So I'm on Twitter, you're on Twitter, Thomas on Twitter. I've not once felt the need to be angry and aggressive and hatred towards another human being. The problem is these people have a voice now and they think they can get away with it because they just set up another account and another account, another account, and that shouldn't happen. If it's set up your national insurance number, then everyone in this country over the age of 18 or whatever has a national 16 has a national insurance number. You're responsible, and if it's linked back to your computer, then there should be a jail term. And only until we do, the punishment has got to almost come with a heavy. The crime's got to come with a heavy punishment. Because if it's not, if it's just come with a tiny fraction of a fine, that gets dealt with by these organisations, and it needs to now be taken as serious as it hasn't in the past.
Yeah.
And I love what Sky are doing at the moment, by the way. That Me Too, where they say, we want this to stop. Taking a knee is I think, is a symbolic, and it should be done for the whole season. And I think it should be done. And I think teams who go and say, no, we're not doing it because it's got a political stance, that's a cop-out for me. I want to see it done. I want to see it done at every game. And I want to see fans and people start pulling people up for this racism that's going on because they know who it is.
Although I do think that one of the comments I seen earlier today was in the 90s, people who pulled up, people who were shouting racist things in the crowd at games were then getting called out for causing trouble and getting thrown out of ground. I think that's probably a mix-up in how it's perceived and who started and stuff like that. And also, what you also found that in those years was the game was attracting people who were directly racist towards players and wasn't doing enough about addressing the issue. I think we had a period where we seemed to do more, but that's a comment that probably doesn't fly anymore either. I think that we were doing more. It doesn't appear like we've done enough. Nowhere close.
No, we haven't.
What are your thoughts, Tom?
A couple of things really. Today, Anthony Martial's been racially abused on Facebook, and earlier today, before this was announced, Facebook had announced that they are gonna give a ban. I don't know if it's for days or for weeks. I think it was days. It was something shocking, like 3 days, to anyone who did an inappropriate tweet. That's how they, or in an inappropriate post. They were going to ban them from posting or send them messages for 3 days, which, you know, if that's the punishment they're getting off the platforms that they're using, then, you know, we've got massive problems. But I think it's, going back to the question, I think it's a society's problem. Society today is letting, it's people go to football to release their anger and to enjoy it and love a game that they love. And I certainly go to football and I go there and I release all me, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Built up anger.
Yeah.
Built up frustrations, yeah.
Yeah, them type of thing. I'd direct it at a player that I didn't like, or at Sam Allardyce, or at anyone from Chelsea, or Fat Frank. I would direct it at them, and that would probably be inappropriate, but not inappropriate for me to be arrested or. And I've been in the match for years, 20 odd years, in the Kop, and every now and again, you would hear an inappropriate shout from somewhere. You wouldn't be able to identify it, but you'd hear it coming from behind you. And then what they introduced at Liverpool was a anonymous text where you could send anonymous text to the club to say that someone was shouting racial abuse. And they'd go and get that row, or they'd put a steward on the end of that row. And if it was heard again, they were pulled out and arrested and stuck. So the clubs themselves and did do the announcements before the game about it, you know, football's free for everyone to attend, and, you know, you're all one tribe as such, and your anger and hatred should be aimed at the opposition in a way where everyone can enjoy that game, not like picking out individuals because of the way they look or how they dress or the way they style their hair. That doesn't matter. But football fans haven't been in for I don't know how long now. And these people on social media are able to just attack people and get away with it. I don't think your idea will work, Darren, because anyone can put in any kind of numbered system, pretend it's their national insurance number, and these social media companies would then be tracing it back. How would they trace it back? I think you should be able, you have to show some physical ID, as in your passport, your driving license, or a bank card that is related to you. That doesn't mean that they can take anything from your account, but it's physically linked to you as the individual. And then you sign a waiver, not a waiver, but you sign something to say that what appears on this account is down to me. So if I give access to somebody and they put stuff on, I'm still held accountable for what's put on there. Because the first excuse you're going to get is, oh, I've been at a party, I put my phone down and someone's used my phone. I didn't know what they were doing. That's not acceptable. And targeting people for the way they look isn't acceptable. You know, what colour shirt they've got on should be what you're aimed at. You know, if they're in a blue shirt, you should be giving them what for because of who they're playing for. And that's it. Not for the colour of the skin. I just think it's absolutely, it's weak and it's pathetic. And they're just small-minded, and I just think it's a disgrace. But the companies aren't doing enough to help, and it's building momentum by what's happening going forward, because these Facebooks and Twitter and Instagram, they're not taking action, and the clubs are trying to fight back now and put pressure on them by saying, you know, we want you to take more action. I've seen Man United have put something out the last few days. Rashford has started talking about saying, you know, what he's doing to supporters, and they should be doing more.
Yeah, just on that, Thomas, Liverpool clubs and Manchester clubs, along with Andy Burnham and Steve Rotherham, put out a joint statement about this, which I thought was excellent. But words come cheap if there's no actions getting made. And
Exactly.
on that,
Really
Thomas, on that, Thomas, I know we can probably talk about this for quite a while, but I just want to pick you up there. I think you're right in saying my national insurance was just an example, but I think you're right. I think a passport, because I've just had to do something the last couple of days where I had to take a picture of my driving license or something. Yeah. And also, I would get kids off social media until they're 16 because they don't actually, well, maybe they do realise the impact it has. And I think social media has a massive impact to play in society, but it won't change because it's all about money.
It's a cesspit, mate. It's an
it's horrible.
Especially Twitter. Yeah. Twitter is a cesspit. I put something on, when Liverpool furloughed their staff.
Yes.
I put something on to say, I don't know why people are surprised because these clubs are run as businesses. I wasn't defending anyone. I wasn't saying it was a good decision. In fact, it was a terrible decision. But my point was, I don't know why we're surprised. It's a business. I got absolutely hell for that.
Wow.
Got all sorts of tweets from people that don't know me, giving me proper down the banks, like horrible stuff as well. Like personal stuff, people I've never met. I literally for a comment on something that was not really that important. But I just think you can, because you would never walk up to someone and say that in the street. But because you're behind a keyboard and because there's distance between you, you feel like you can do it. The problem is that to a certain extent, I've had that much crap there, but that's a one-off situation. People like Martial, Rashford, and others, Raheem Sterling, being abused on a daily basis, and they're being abused because of the colour of the skin. That is just absolutely abhorrent. It's horrible. It's just the lowest of the low. I totally agree, Thomas. Totally small-minded. Got nothing to do in a day other than abuse other people. And unfortunately, I think these social media platforms are enabling it and not doing enough to get it taken down. And I think the sooner they take action, the sooner we'll get something done about it. If they don't, it doesn't matter what clubs do. I just don't think they'll eradicate it because social media is always going to be a pathway for them.
And it needs to be proper action and not just token action, because that's the problem.
I agree, but let's park that, because I think there's an episode there, and we've spoke about this before. Definitely. We know people who are in and around the efforts to kick racism out of football. So we'll try and get someone on and have a conversation about someone who understands it a bit more. We've got our opinions, but let's see if we can get an expert on and give us a perspective, because now is a great time to be talking about it, because what you don't want it to do is to die down now that we're some time away from the George Floyd situation. We just need to carry on and shout about it as much as we possibly can until something's done about it. Hopefully it gets some action. All right, so I really like that section, and we'll keep doing it. We'll keep doing the videos, and we'll keep getting people sending questions in, because then at least we're talking about things that people really want to talk about. One of the segments that we said we'd do a while ago, and this is meant to be a bit of fun, similar to things like the Wall of Hate, but Thomas is obviously, he loves a live conversation. He loves being put under pressure. So what we thought we'd do is a little bit of word association. So we're going to give Thomas either a statement or a word or a name, and then Thomas has to say the first thing that comes into his head. Remembering that we've just been talking about the fact that you've got to be careful how you give people crap because of the way they look. You've got to think about it. This has got to be, thoughtful.
Yeah, they're going to struggle. We're going to struggle here with
Simon,
that.
In the creative room, this sounded like a great idea.
It did, yeah.
However, Thomas has one word, and they can't all be swear words, Thomas.
Yeah. Although you could probably throw a couple in there.
Yeah, you can throw a couple in. I reckon a pound of swear word to a charity.
So I've got some good ones in here as well that will prompt positive things. So let's mix them up. Daz, why don't you go first?
Okay, I'm going to start off, and it's got to be 60 seconds, Simon.
60 seconds, get going.
60 seconds. Harry Redknapp.
Car window.
All right. Rafa Benitez.
Istanbul.
You got to be quicker.
I know that was good.
I'm trying to.
Coloured boots.
Should be black.
One word answers.
All right.
Be black.
England.
Shit.
Leads me on to the next one. Everton.
Miserable.
Graham Sharp.
Goal scorer.
Oh, the Glaziers.
Fantastic.
Stinging a Bjornaby.
Wonderful left foot.
How is that the thing that you remember?
Paul Gascoigne.
Then or now.
Just Paul Gascoigne.
Magician.
Steve McManaman.
Sellout.
Arteta.
Shit.
Okay. Jurgen Klopp to leave in the summer.
I can't use that word. Or that one. Not happening.
Pickford.
Dinosaur.
Last one, because it's Valentine's Day. Rachel.
Love of me life.
Ah, look at that one. Always ending off.
Who's Rachel, by the way? Sorry.
His wife and my sister, Daz. Well done. Brilliant. Okay, so we'll
quicken
do more
them
of
up.
them.
We'll
They're
quicken
really
them
good,
up.
yeah. So you'll get better at that, Tom.
Yeah.
That was good, though.
I was sweating.
Not enough swear
To be
words.
honest, no, I was just thinking, no, literally, we just talked about like giving people crap about 2 seconds ago, and then you want
that
me
was
to give
why
people crap.
I definitely changed some of mine up. I had some others in there. If you remember, we talked about mental health a while ago, and then straight afterwards we did the wall of hate, and we got called out on it. And it was absolutely spot on. We absolutely shouldn't have done the wall of hate afterwards. But this is a little bit different. It's a bit of fun. I like that. I like the. I like how you're put in a position where you have no choice but to answer.
And you looked uncomfortable throughout.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I'm literally sweating.
Nothing better than making you feel uncomfortable, mate. All right, so Daz, let's get the final thoughts done before we let the audience go. What are you thinking?
I just think at the moment, you know what? Just touching on what we talked about, racism. Society's got a bigger part to play, and we have to step up and call it out when it needs to be called out.
Totally agree. Thomas?
Mine is to the fools and short-sighted so-called Liverpool fans who have put the biggest load of rubbish on social media the last week or so. People's memories are far too short, and people are looking for change and are shouting about absolute stupid things. Jurgen Klopp coming to Liverpool, and we were useless. And he built us up into, last season, the best team in the world. We were blowing everybody away. We were absolutely amazing. And it took him years to build up. And you don't just become a rubbish manager overnight because of personal issues, because of a dip in form and some defeats. We're supposed to be the mighty Liverpool, the best fans in the world. And we've got fans running around on social media saying he's quit, sack him, bring someone else in. Just give your heads a wobble, the ones that are doing that. Have a look at the bigger picture. Look at what he's done for us. And let's hope that he's with us for the next 10 years, because more success will obviously follow because of how good he is. I've been really upset with that this week more than the dip in form. I've been very upset with fans. Whether they are true Liverpool fans, I can't believe that they'd shout and put stuff like that up. So just give your head a wobble if you are doing stuff like that, and support the team and support the manager.
Okay, so just for the international audience, give your head a wobble means think about what you're saying. Yeah, sort yourself out.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. I think the madness of people asking or saying that Klopp should go at this point is absolutely ridiculous. Darren said it earlier, we're having a blip. It's a difficult period. No one likes it. None of us like it. I'm not enjoying it at all. Hated the game yesterday. But it'll get better. And he's still the same coach as he was last year and the year before. We're going through a difficult period. He'll get us back. He is absolutely the right person to do that. Back him. He backed this club when he came in. We need to back him now, and he'll get us back on track. In terms of racism, I think it's something that is we talk about a bit. It's talked about a lot now in the media. I think it's good that it's talked about. However, it's not acceptable, and it's not acceptable to let it happen either. It's certainly not acceptable to be the people who are putting it out there. But it's just as bad to let it happen. You've got to do something about it. You can't just stand by and let it happen. I think back to when I used to go to the game when I was a kid, and I was a young lad when I used to go, and it was rife in the game then. And although I don't remember ever having the opportunity to pull people up on it, I now think back and think I wish I had when I did it. If I'd have told people and I'd have said that's not acceptable. But hindsight's a great thing, and I'd love to have done more. I tell you now, if it happened right now, I'd be the first person standing up and saying that's not acceptable. Get them out, because I just think if you don't stand up to these people and you let them get away with it, they will carry on doing it. They will find a way to do it. They'll use social media. They'll go to a game where they can get away with it, and they will kill the community, society, and the sport that we love. It's definitely being hurt at the moment, and we want to see it eradicated. So do all you can to stop it. I hope the FA do a lot. And if social media platforms can't do more to solve it, then the government are going to have to step in at some stage, because it's just not acceptable. So we will have an episode on that at some stage. We'll get someone on who can talk a bit more eloquently than we can about the subject. But it's definitely an important one. So for those who are listening, go and have a look at the website, www.threemenfootball.com. Don't forget, we've got the Facebook group, we've got the Twitter group, and we've also got Instagram. Follow us on all of those platforms. We're not spouting stupidity on there. We're talking about football. We're talking about the game that we love all the time, trying to get people involved in conversations. And also go and check out the YouTube channel. All of our videos are on there. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Send in your video question. We've got some great ones this week. Loved the questions from Andy, Jeff, and Igor, and also from Mark as well. We'll get into that more at a later date, but keep them coming. Thanks, lads. Brilliant episode. Brilliant. Have a brilliant week. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye.